If you're in any kind of a choice point or a negotiation or, a big decision, if you're trying to do it all from your thoughts, you're using just a small fraction of your intelligence.
Hello, Katie.
Hello, Soph, and Happy New Year again. I'm just so happy that we're in this new year, and it feels like, for me, I'm already halfway through the year.
I love that you're wearing overalls and total colorful t-shirt. This is making me just so happy. Are we going to somewhere?
Well, I'm just kind of feeling like I'm in the new year, and I'm ready, and I wanted to be able to also be more functional, not have anything extra, not have anything flying off me. I was just remembering Isadora Duncan was the founder of modern dance.
Yes.
And she loved scarves and flowy things, but I don't know if you know how she died. This is a little macabre, but she was in a wonderful sports car and she had one of her scarves on and it caught on the wheel.
No, and it strangled her.
And strangled her.
Oh, my Lord, it is a little macabre.
Well, it is, but it's also
a good way for her to go, though, because she was kind of crazy.
Yeah, she was, just on out. But I think there are times when I want to be more just on purpose and have nothing extra and also nothing that's going to get in my way or that I'm going to trip on.
Nice.
Because I have a love, as you know, of clothing that's, just very flowy. But I realize when I'm wearing a kimono, I can get that caught on the knob of a door. And, so it's this balance between function and beauty.
Oh, interesting. It is.
What a great problem.
What a great segue with the macabre, because what I wanted to ask you was a little bit, something happened this weekend, if we can jump in.
Oh, geez.
I was somewhere, someone arrived, they were probably a little drunk. They started having a fight with someone else. Someone came and kneeled them and put them on the ground, this whole really crazy scene.
Wow.
And I don't like negative stuff. I really do a lot to not be, and I could not peel my eyes off of what was happening. And I was really curious to chat with you on why do we, it's happened often enough that someone will tell you something pretty horrible and then you kind of tell them something horrible that also happened to you, and we kind of pull each other in this story.
Oh, I totally
Why do we like tragedy or whatever? Why do we or cannot not look at it? Do you have
That's such a great question. Well, I had lots of things bubble up in my mind when you said that. One was we can look at that and say, oh, that's horrible. And thank God it's not me.
Yes.
So I think that's one level of whew, I'm still here and I made it. And another is that people get the juice of adrenaline from focusing on, a big drama or an upset or a conflict. And I think most people mistake adrenaline for actual life energy. Yeah. And it gets us on that cycle of having to then escalate, just as you were describing, and then he comes in and then person needs him and then they're down on the ground and then other, people are going, and I see that not just in, that kind of real life, but I see that online as well, where someone will, when we post something about really how wonderful life can be, and especially when you open up to wonder or you open up to learning, we never get any comments on those. But if we say something like, when you're in the middle of a conflict, are you able to see the other person's point of view? And people go, well, the other person's always wrong. And then the other person says, no, she's wrong. And we get so many comments. And so for me, that really, that supports what you're saying, is that people are addicted to adrenaline and drama. I think that's the main reason.
That's really interesting, because the way you called it, the life energy, the life force, because it does look like people need some external stimulant, even substances like coffee and, to go up and things to go down, and almost as if there was a little bit of a dullness inside.
Yes, a little bit of. I also think that there's a dullness, a thickness, a denseness
Yeah.
Because most people aren't really letting life in.
Yeah.
It's kind of bouncing off. And it also, I think, bounces off people's thinking rather than their sensations, rather than their feeling into, like letting the life energy actually affect them.
Yeah.
So I think it's partly a barrier that people are used to. It's like drama pickleball.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where people just badam, 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 badam.
Yeah.
And so louder, faster, and more in your face seems to be like, because you have to escalate, because adrenaline is addictive.
Yeah.
And we get habituated to it because it has a very short half-life. So you can go, and then you feel dull again.
And so you do it again.
Yeah, you have to do it again, only more. And so, to me, that really explains a lot of what goes on in the world.
I'm wondering, no joke. I'm wondering too if there's an element of not allowing my true feelings. Like if I'm sad and I don't feel my sadness and I shove it down, it's got to go somewhere. Like it's somehow I feel like later on I'll be really sad for something that actually is not what I'm sad about. Like I'll what is that word? I'll move it to this other situation where it's like, this is appropriate to be sad about, like a movie. Like people that they never cry, but they cry when they see a scene in the movie that's really sad, right?
It's like they cash it all in.
Yes.
Because it doesn't go anywhere. And I think it builds up in people unexpressed, well, actually unexperienced and unexpressed feelings don't go anywhere. They tend to sabotage. They come out sideways, like getting irritable or snapping at somebody that really didn't do anything. So we misplace, we project. But I think the big thing it does is depress our life energy.
Yeah.
If we're not really feeling, and what I mean by feeling is not necessarily emotion, but sensing into, letting ourselves be impacted by what's happening, breathing with it, moving with it, letting ourselves experience. And I think more and more people, lots of people just don't experience. And so they need a lot of extra stimulation from outside to feel alive.
It's interesting because it's like what do you call them in English? A catch-22.
It's yes.
Because you don't feel the feelings, and so they go inside you, they numb you even more. So now you cannot really feel the feelings. So then you watch something on TV that's even more numbing you. And it's like a cycle of that it becomes a little bit hard to feel your feelings and to sense because so much is coming.
Well, and also just so much in order to get people's eyeballs, I think that also more drama is happening out there and coming at you, and something, more exciting or surprising, but it has that adrenaline factor of like, oh my God. I was just remembering way back when television was just really developing, in the 70s and the 80s, if someone shot a gun on television, it was like, it was this huge deal. Or if
we weren't used to the sound of it, probably.
Right, the sound and all the action of it. And if one car like bumped into another car and there was they had a car accident, it was like, it was so dramatic. And like, today we're blowing up whole worlds and all of the sound effects. It is, I think, overwhelming for most people's nervous systems.
And probably the more, the bigger and the louder and the more of that you're going to need. It's like heroin, like people that do like a shot of heroin and then the next time they have to do more and then more, because otherwise they don't feel.
You don't get the hit. And I think, the thing that people don't know is that adrenaline is the most addictive drug on the planet.
And we produce it ourselves. It's inside.
Yes, we produce it ourselves. And I do think, when I've been caught in an adrenaline cycle, one of the things I notice is that my ability to feel anything else gets diminished.
Yeah.
So like the nuances of, like seeing a little kid skipping down the street and feeling the joy of that, it's like I don't see it because I'm in that, much narrower track.
Yeah.
And I actually think it's one of the biggest issues that's facing us because it's where you get your fuel. Do you get your fuel from connection and attention and collaboration and presence, or do you get it from adrenaline? And I think a lot of people get it from adrenaline.
So I think it's a recent thought that adrenaline is a drug and it's addictive. I'm curious, like, I think someone would say, I'm going to rehab because I drink. I mean, maybe not so joyfully, but, there is a place where you can kind of work on that. Like, what else
you can transform that or, rehabilitate.
Like, what do you do with your adrenaline? Like, what does one do to handle, because there's no rehab center that I know of.
Question. I was just thinking about as you were saying that, just before you were saying that, I was thinking, well, so what do we do about this?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, because otherwise, we're just on these gerbil wheels of going. Yeah. Well, one thing it was just occurring to me is that slowing down.
Yeah.
Is one of the most powerful things we can do to get off the adrenaline roller coaster. And what I like to do is to play with how am I moving through my day?
Yeah.
How am I moving right now? I mean, sometimes literally, like, how am I going from one room to another, or how am I going out the door? And if I check and I'm out in front of myself, I'm in adrenaline. So for me, the first step is, okay, locating myself, right? Oh, here I am, and feeling my feet, feeling my breath. Oh, and when I do that, I immediately go, and almost the first thing is more out breath and more, just a slowing down. And when I do that, I can actually feel my feels. I can sense into what's really going on rather than skipping over the top of it.
Which reminds me of what you were saying earlier, the kimono with the long sleeves, because maybe actually it serves you, because if you were moving slowly with your kimono, you wouldn't be catching it on the doorknob, would you?
That is such a good point. That is, I think unconsciously, that's part of why I put on a kimono actually when I'm getting into the day, because I want to set up a pace that's going to allow me to be aware of where I am. Because it's one thing, the whole phrase of bull in a china closet. It's one thing if, like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do and you're not going to get my way. But if you actually want to have a harmonious life, it includes other people and your interactions with other people. And so that's a way of checking. It's like checking in. Sort of, where am I? How am I? And where am I going? And those can be things that I can use to, like, establish a kind of a tuning fork or a place to come home to, where I go, okay. So for me, it's doing some easy belly breathing and maybe wiggling a little bit or doing some fear melters, so that I'm noticing where in my body am I more awake and where am I less awake. So right now I can feel like in the backs of my thighs, there's a little bit of, like a little bit of sinking in. And so I think, oh, what are my legs wanting to do? And then I can get, I'm interacting with myself as a friend, rather than as my body is just a vehicle to carry me around.
Yeah, there's a way that we can. Someone used to say to me, like, there's days where the bear eats you, and then there's the days that you eat the bear. And I don't know why it reminds me of this in this moment, but similarly, I feel like sometimes my body does me, and sometimes I be my body. And there are very different days, very, very different days.
Very different days. And my experience is that I can shift that dynamic. Because I was also thinking there's a third way. So the bear eats you or you eat the bear, but the third way is that you play with the bear.
Yes.
So I think it's actually possible to play with the bear, whereas that is to, give attention to what's going on, to get curious about that, but also to just ask my body, what would you like to do? How are you feeling? What would you, and to give my body a chance to express directly, like by moving, by drawing, by making sounds. And then my body goes, oh, I'm here too. You're paying attention to me. I have value. Rather than, okay, I've just got to do the job and carry you around. Because that's how we think mostly of our bodies, as a problem.
Yeah. Or a vehicle, as you were saying.
Or a vehicle, or a vehicle that needs regular maintenance, like most vehicles do.
But you know what's beautiful with that is, like a lot of things, if we cooperate with our bodies, then it's a complete ally.
Yes.
Right? Like I find myself, I don't get sick very often, but when I do get sick, I often notice that it's on the trail of like too muchness. Like I went out too late. I didn't sleep enough. Like there's a trend that gets me there when, of course, on the other side, when I pay attention and I listen and I slow down and I feed it better, then it's I mean, what other ally do I have than this gorgeous thing that's walking me around? It's like such a shift. And it wasn't, as you know, always that for me. Like my very overweight body was heavy and it was more of an inconvenience. And now that it's not, I see that it's like a partner. It literally is like a friend that's with me, as if me is something else, by the way. Like, do I have another me in there?
Well, that's a whole other fascinating subject, is, am I my body? Mm-hmm. I was remembering in my graduate school way back, there was a professor who was really asserting, you are not your body. And there was this big discussion. Am I my body? Am I more than my body? Yep. Is my body just something that drops away? So the sense of there's me and then there's my body. Mm-hmm. And that separation, I think, is really, the beginning of the problem. Yeah. Whereas, here I am, in my allness, which includes my body sensations and my feelings and my thoughts, and my perceptions of other, and a whole bunch, but it's all me. And so that division, that's been going on for over 2,000 years, so head good, body bad.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Oh, got to control the body, because it's just bad. It's going to get you into trouble.
Do you think it's part of the Christian thing, like the body ate the apple? Do you think so, huh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You just need to look at history to affirm that. Wow. And I also think that that's part of, that's the root cause of people's fear of women, because we have much more body stuff going on than men do. And I think that when we don't understand that or participate with it or befriend all of those different cycles and feelings and hormones, that we go, okay, if I can just rise above it and control it, then I won't get so scared that the unexpected is going to come in.
Or I'm going to get disliked, or I'm going to get rejected, or I'm going to get not given a chance to be even at the table.
Right. So that whole separation of mind and body, what I am liking to do is, when I'm experiencing anything, I open up to, okay, how am I experiencing this in my body? To me, that's somebody was asking me the other day, well, what's the thing I can do if I don't really, I'm not present in my body? And so the question that I've always found really valuable, something's going on, like that thing you were expressing about the big conflict that was going on. Mm-hmm. How am I experiencing this in my body right now? Mm-hmm. And when I ask that question, one of the things that my body gives me information right away, like, you stopped breathing. Mm-hmm. You went, and you got scared. I got scared. Oh, so, I can do a little movement and breathing, and then I'm in my whole self again. So my body then becomes my ally. Yeah. And we have a sense of, there's me, and then there's my body, and I own it. It belongs to me. Mm-hmm. And it should do what I want it to do because it's my body, rather than all of these different dimensions, and they're all influencing how I'm feeling or what I'm saying or how I'm choosing.
What's interesting with this idea that the question you asked was, how am I feeling in my body? By definition, brings you to your body. Like
exactly.
Right? Like it's
that's the tricky thing about it, because
trick yourself a little bit.
Not well, for me, it's like a little bit of an active meditation, because if I ask that question, my mind has to do something that is focused on what's going on in my body. Yeah. And so that move from head to, what's going on in the rest of me is so valuable. And I've seen people open up to becoming allies with themselves just by practicing that question over time, because it also is going to give you more information. If you're in any kind of a choice point or a negotiation or, a big decision, if you're trying to do it all from your thoughts, you're using just a small fraction of your intelligence. But when you ask that question of like, how am I experiencing this choice here or this decision here in my body, then your body will say, well, if you were breathing, you'd be able to see that he's really scared. And if you gave him a little bit of loving attention, he could become your friend. So it can open up doorways that just don't open up if you're just thinking.
It is such a good concept that it's almost like I would say, can I do life without my eyes? I mean, some people do and have to, but if as a choice would say, I'm going to just shut my ears and no more listening. Why? It's like right. Like such an important. It's like, why are we separating ourselves from all? It's not a zero sum. It's like you can have all of it. You can have your intuition, and yet you can run them by your thoughts. I mean, we're not saying like go and follow your intuition at all costs, or your heart, or your body, even for that matter. It's both. It's the balance. Yeah.
Yeah. The balance of what I'm thinking, what I've seen, and I think it would be interesting to check this out for yourself, of body sensations, because they get to your brain 4 to 10 times faster than your thoughts. Your body gets there first. So if you pay attention to, giving attention to, oh, what's going on there? I just felt a little twinge. When I give my attention to those, it's always really valuable. Like, especially when I get a little, then it's okay, we forgot this whole element, or I think they're really mad and they're not saying it. So it opens up much more of what's actually happening, rather than having the tunnel vision that I think comes from adrenaline and speediness, but also from saying, I'm the boss of you. Your head saying, well, I'm the one who's really in charge here. And then your body goes, yeah, because I found that the body always wins.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, one way
and
or
it tells the truth. It's like if you take a second to listen, it's like almost like a young child, they don't know how to lie. They don't know. I remember when I was a kid, my grandfather, I guess in France, it was cheaper if you were less than 3 years old in the bus or something. And so he wanted us to say, my brother and I, to say that we were not 3. So we would pay, 20 cents less. It was just like a mentality more than the money, obviously. But then the person would come and I'd be like, but I am 3, I'm 3.5, And
I am, this is how,
You see, like children don't lie like that naturally. And so I think the body is very much like that. I can say, I'm like, okay, I'm fine when I'm not. Have you seen a body of someone who says they're fine when they're not? There's always like, I'm fine. It's always like, wait, can you release your jaw? Like you're hurting me.
Yeah, that's really, and in fact, I'm fine could be a whole symphony in itself. All of the different ways that people say I'm fine, and you go, I don't think so. In fact, when I fell off my bicycle some years ago and my bike fell on me and snapped my hip, people came running over, because I broke my hip, and people came over and said, oh, are you all right? And the first thing I said was, I'm fine.
Oh, wow.
That was so, even though and then I found I couldn't stand up. So it was like,
You weren't fine.
Yeah. But that's so.
Reflex. It's like almost like
it's like a reflex. And the reflex is, I don't need anything. I'm not going to be a problem. For me, it was like, I'm not going to be, you don't have to take care of me because I
don't want to be an inconvenience. Yeah. Yeah,
I won't inconvenience you. And so it came from me, from fear that I was not going to be taken care of. But, in fact, when I think about it, I wasn't very well taken care of when I got hurt when I was little. And so for me, it gave me an opportunity to reclaim that the hurt child that never got taken care of, and to befriend her and take good care of her. I especially practiced that after I broke my hip. It's like, okay, here's where you are right now. I'd like you to be better. I'd like you to be able to move more, but now that's just where we are. And that, that being with myself, it was quite a big learning.
As we wrap up, like we started with this idea that watching you fall from a bike would be something that would be hit my heart so intensely, because I love you so much. I'm wondering if the way you're describing this connecting to our bodies in that moment is a way to parent ourselves. Like we have been with our bodies. I know our cells change all the time, but I have been with this person this whole time. Even before being born, I've been this person. And so when I say to my body, like, how do you feel? I wonder if it's a way to re-parent myself, like hold you, like the way you would when you fall from your bike. I would run over and I'd hold you and I'd be, maybe that's a way that we can gently be that with ourselves.
Oh, I love that. And I was thinking of, my move that I do with fear melters of love scoops.
Yeah.
It's kind of like just bringing it's okay. And I find also that the touch just goes, here I am.
Yeah.
Here I am with you. And that presence is that's often really all that's needed. Here I am. I'm with you.
As you and I are often having those conversations, your screen froze at the end of our call. That's interesting.
There
you are, just holding yourself as like a permanent image. It's actually perfect. We can hear you.
Wow, that's wild. The other thing I've been noticing is that I have so much energy now. Like I sort of been blowing systems out. So
good. Thank you for another wonderful conversation. I love you.
I love you. Thank you.